Hello everyone. Hi, this is Shweta here from TMP, and we're just about to start with our webinar on your career site as a sourcing channel. To outline today's agenda, we are going to start with telling you about how to develop your candidate experience, because it's not just the career side, but it's certainly important. Living your employer brand and activating your story, conversions from the career side, and metrics. To take you through all of this, today we have our country head, Mr. Pramod Chaganti. He'll be taking over from here.
Thank you, Shweta. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for the time that you guys have taken to attend the webinar. This will be a kind of a webinar which will give some insights into what a career site should be doing and how you can maximize the career site to create an impact on your hiring and applications, etc. And before that, a bit about TMP. We are a global recruitment marketing agency which specializes in creative brand storytelling of your employer brand, distribution of that digital story, and giving back meaningful insights and metrics that will help optimize solutions and optimize your activities. So we are a brand agency that combines consulting, technology, and creativity to create meaningful solutions that help clients with brand activation, attraction, and engagement. Obviously, we track a lot, and then we have a huge knowledge labs, which kind of believes in failing first and failing fast and bring out the most innovative solutions for the recruitment and talent attraction needs. Now, so the topic for today is how do we make a career site primary sourcing channel, right? And a lot of us have career sites. A lot of you have career sites, have active content, get a lot of traction, get a lot of users. But when I go back and talk to my clients, understanding how much of it is actually delivering in applications and hiring, it's really small, right? And few companies have about 7-8%, few companies have about 15-20% kind of 15-16% kind of hirings done through career site, but on an average it's about 5-6%. So the question is, how do we kind of improve it? Is this just a content hub, or is it an active hub for traction for applications? Right. So what a career site must do is to work for both candidates and recruiters, right? It's as much for candidate experience as it is to build recruiter efficiency. And some of the elements that I speak about in the future slides will kind of talk about both touch upon candidate experience as well as recruiter efficiency. So we are kind of in an environment today which is fiercely competitive for talent. There seems to be a lot of supply, but then supply of the right kind of talent always seems to be limited, and every company is vying for the same kind of talent. So it's essentially what do candidates look for today? Looking for culture, benefits, testimonials, authentic information, content that is more relevant to them, and kind of help them understand what is it in for them, right? And this hasn't changed really if you actually look at it. And what's changed is as we see in the next few slides and as we learn more, the landscape has changed, but not what candidates are seeking, right? So and your career site becomes a very integral part of your digital strategy. Now, what should a career site really do, right? It should really accomplish your goals and objectives, which means that there needs to be a greater clarity and clearly defined objectives. What is it that you want your audience to gain from your career site? We need to understand the behavior. We need to understand what they're doing, why they're doing whatever they're doing today, and kind of build on it and create engagement, create more content engagement, and enable them to make decisions. And while all you do that, the bedrock of this obviously is employee value proposition, right? What is it in for your employees? What is it in for your candidates to apply to a company, be part of your company? And that's what should bring to life. Your career site should really bring your EVP to life, should help people understand what is it to work for you. And look at the data, right? The first data is, which is very interesting, is 80% of your job-related searches begin on a search engine and not on a job site, which is a perception, right? Job sites are, for example, Naukri in our case is hub for everything, which is actually not true. A lot of your searches originate on Google, for example, in India, or search engines in general, right? And there are about 79% candidates say overall candidate experience is an indicator of how they might be valued in the future. So if you're making them wait for unbelievable number of hours at the interviews, or kind of making them look for content, look for information, not presenting that straightforward, that gives them a very, very poor impression on the employee, on the candidates. And the most important thing, people are coming to your career site, and that's what we're learning with TMP data and industry data, right? And it's largely TMP data where it says that about 46% of your users coming to a career site are focused on job descriptions. They're looking for jobs, they're looking for applications, and they're not necessarily looking for content, right? They're just not looking for content. And homepage is not necessarily the first page or the most important page in your career site, right? It's job descriptions mostly, and that's where 78% of views are going to job descriptions and not necessarily to homepage. And it's also kind of enabled by the redirections that companies do from job sites and various other media, etc., to the specific job descriptions. But that's where people are landing, right? And also it tells us that personalize the experience to get more traction, right? You have to personalize the experience. You have to give relevant information. You have to kind of make sense to each individual out there, and that's essentially increasing the conversion rates, and people are continuing to engage with career sites when they have more personalized content, more content that makes sense to them, right? And then again, as we saw in the previous slide, majority of people are looking for jobs, and they leave the site once they look at the job descriptions, right? And that's where you got to make most of it. And then we'll look at more in the few slides later, right? And again, it has to be design-wise, it has to be good. If it doesn't look clickable, it won't get clicked, right? And which means that it's not just content, but the way you design the career site and the way it kind of appeals, the aesthetics have to be right. And enable location, right? Enable geography, identify the geographies, identify the location, and ensure that you're giving the right information, right set of jobs, because 63% of people are interested jobs near me, right? Jobs in Bangalore, for example, or jobs in Delhi, etc. And then your job descriptions matter, right? And this 44% comes back quite a number of times because that's what is driving conversions, really, because that's what people are looking for on a career site, and that's what should drive conversions, and that will come back time and again in this presentation. And relevant content, it increases the conversion rate, not just increases the conversion rate, but also kind of brings in the select ability for people to opt in or opt out of that particular job if there is more relevant content that helps them understand what the job descriptions are, what the responsibilities are, etc., right? And of course the application process that all of us redirect applications to ATS, which could be Taleo, Kenexa, whatever, but kind of continuing to drive those experiences even when they are on Taleo or on Kenexa is extremely critical to be able to convert faster and convert better. And the better experience in the apply stage actually reduces the drop-off percentage, which is extremely important. And while we look at some of these elements, it's also extremely important to look at understanding the digital candidate experience, right? Today, job seekers and users are coming with varied experiences, superior experiences that they get from e-commerce sites, etc., and they expect the same thing from a career site, and that's what keeps them engaging. Now, what has happened, and again, this is manifestation of what's happening and what continues to happen, right? And there are more and more and more places that people can find information, and you'll also realize that, and probably all of us already realize, in fact, that there are more places people find information without our intervention than places where we intervene, for example, than the organic content that we put on Facebook. Versus that, people find a lot of information and decision making that they do basis what they see on Glassdoor, which you are not controlling it, right? So there are just more number of places, and they're always looking for authentic information, right? Gone are the days where a very nice looking advertisement would kind of attract people to a job. They're looking for experiences, they're looking to understand uh, current employee experiences, authentic information, and wherever they believe it's information that's kind of manufactured by the organization, they're kind of moving away from it. And a lot of our viral videos, for example, even in the employment content or recruitment content scenarios would kind of lead you to that conclusion. And specific to India, I think we all know that we have a lot of supply. There is a lot of us looking for jobs today, but again, when you look at the right talent, when you look at the talent that a company wants to hire, it's always kind of in demand, and that's where the competition for talent is. That's where the competition for being a good employer or a great place to work is coming from. And we just have too many places. I mean, we have content all over, good and bad, uh, places where that have mushroomed in terms of carrying this content, places like Twitter, Facebook, etc., Glassdoor, everywhere. You go to any place, there is content, right? And it's not just what your brand can say, but it's what you can make them feel, make your candidates feel, or make them to compel to do something. That's what is important. So it, again, goes back to authentic messaging, authentic communication, goes back to people that want transparency and information that they would like to relate to, right? And then and the whole experience of job search, the whole experience of finding content, the whole experience of engaging with the organization, everything is part of your employer brand. And the whole cycle is part of your employer brand. So in case you're delivering great experience in the job search and in the decision-making cycle, and when they're evaluating jobs, when they're evaluating organizations, that's where you really kind of make a win, and that's what gives you the power to win a talent, right? The great candidate experience is actually what delivers you great talent at your doorsteps. And while we do that, obviously the users or the candidates are the most important people for all of us to be looking at, right? And typically, a candidate lifecycle is about discovery of jobs. Even before discovery of jobs, it's probably about trying to make a decision whether he or she would want to look for a job and what are those drivers, etc. And that's where the life cycle starts in terms of finding out, am I dissatisfied with my current job? Do I want to look for a job? And those are the triggers that eventually lead to looking for a job, searching for jobs, and discovery of jobs. And that's a huge part of the entire life cycle, right? And once I'm finding jobs, once a candidate is finding jobs and a user is finding jobs, the next important thing is how does one make a decision, right? Basis the content, basis information that they're seeing everywhere, and then that becomes a important aspect to kind of inform them, persuade them, and get them to make that decision. And the rest two levels are phases are essentially about the apply process, the interview process, which is largely determined by your recruiters, by your hiring managers, even by your receptionists for that matter, when they wait for the interview at the lobby, etc., and the onboarding, right? And for today's webinar and largely about career side, the focus will be on the first two phases of the candidate life cycle, which are about attraction and information. And then that's what we'll talk about in the next slides, right? And then your life cycle in the talent in the attraction phase is essentially about discovery of jobs, it is about seeking information and applying to a job, right? And this is what we typically call path to conversion, right? Right from discovery of jobs till the application is completed. And we look at how career sites can impact this in the journey and make a better conversion, if you will, by presenting a good candidate experience and converting it at every stage, right? And then the first part of your path to conversion is discovery of jobs, right? And discovery of jobs for us at TMP, for example, is about searching wherever they are, about ability to present jobs wherever they are. And for example, 70 to 80% of job searches start on a search engine, right? And then that's where you've got to be present. Are you able to present job descriptions, job postings, opportunities right at when someone is searching for a job? For example, someone searching for, let's say, jobs in Bangalore or Java jobs in Bangalore. Are you able to capture that search, and are you able to present relevant jobs to the candidate at the least number of clicks? And that's what wins you the candidate. That's what wins you applications. And while we look at it, again, as I said, the 40%, 44% kind of number comes back, and this is extremely important, that they're looking for jobs on a career site, right? And so it's important for you to connect what they're doing on Google to what your career site has, right? And more than 60% users drop from career site without taking any action. So, which is why your bounce rates are usually higher on a career site, and that's purely because people are coming to the site, trying to find relevant information, trying to find what interests them, and then sometimes they find, and several times they might not find, and they move on, right? And the whole point is, how do we capture that candidate at that point of time? How do we capture the information, the data, and then process it and make conversions at a later stage, right? And the reality of our lives today is more than 70% and possibly upwards of 80% is on mobile devices, which means your career site not only has to be responsive, but also has to be able to take applications on a mobile device, and which is what becomes a extremely good career site functionality, right? And then let's say, for example, I'm searching for here Java jobs in Dell Bangalore, right? And I'm interested to look for Dell jobs and give it a pause and see what happens, right? Google for jobs comes up, which is again a reality of our life. Google is aggregating jobs and then presenting options for the candidate to apply to a job. And he lands up directly, or he or she lands up directly on a job description. Now, what it means essentially is, if you look from the beginning to this stage, there are about 3 clicks. The user has found a relevant job and can be ready to apply or will be ready to apply, right? So the path to conversion or the path to apply click is the shortest, and that's what the focus of a career site should be. How can we reduce the number of clicks from the discovery of a job till application of a job, right? And then that's what a great career site would do. For example, in this case, Dell does it about 3 clicks, right? And of course, mobile first will always win. You've got to be mobile first, otherwise there is no way you would exist, right? And then if you take a look at how VMware careers are, for example, it's a seamless mobile experience which puts in all the relevant information right from the search jobs tab on the top, and kinds of gives content in a very design and responsive way, which essentially improves and increases the conversions that one might get, right? And the second aspect of conversion is obviously content, right? Information. How do we convince them? How do we convince and convert a candidate, right? And if you look at it, only 22% users access pages other than jobs, right? And job seekers consume more than 5 pieces of content and media before applying. Now, this is interesting. Just these two put alone will tell you that contradictory things, right? One is your users are not consuming content on your career site. They're just looking for jobs, but they're consuming content elsewhere, right? Now, which essentially means the path to conversion is longer now. The number of steps that a candidate goes through before applying to a job are more, right? And then of course they're seeking transparency and more information, authentic information before applying, right? Now, if you look at this, then as I said, it tells us that people are looking for content and people are looking for job descriptions on our career site. So the best way to do is to kind of match both, right? And then add to this complexity is shrinking attention span, right? I think I heard somewhere it's about 8 seconds for a human being today, or less than 8 seconds, right? And that's what we have to attract a candidate, right? And which means that we got to understand what they're looking for even before they look for it, even before they ask us the question, right? And that's where predictive analytics, that's where predictive content is making a huge, playing a huge role. And that's something which should drive your career site uh, functionality, right? And in terms of personalizing content to candidate basis what we already know about them, and then relevant and important information wherever they are. Again, the most important thing is wherever they are, and we do not control where a job seeker or a candidate looks for information, but wherever they are, we probably have to be able to present whatever we can, right? And and relevant content, as we saw, kind of increases the conversion rate by a good 15%, right? Let's look at this job description, for example, right? And then this is a job description of a client, a disclaimer. Uh, Sorry, for some reason this video is not working, but we'll move on. So this job description essentially has a lot of, yeah. So this job description, if you see, has a lot of content, uh, information that helps candidates to understand beyond the core responsibilities. What does it entail? The attributes that are required. What do they get in return from the organization? The core description. This is what is coming from ATS, for example, in this particular job description case. And as you move on, the content, right? This is where relevant content will come in, can come in, and similar jobs. Now, what we're doing is at every stage we're trying to build that impact on the job seeker to be able to make that decision as soon as they can, rather than allowing them to leave without content, without information, look for content on Facebook or on Glassdoor or on wherever, LinkedIn, etc. Since we have them here, we're trying to make best out of it. Now, what does it mean? It means we're matching the jobs to the content and content to the jobs. And then it becomes a very potent, relevant combination for the job seeker. Right? Which brings us to the third element, which is actual conversion, right? And we've been able to kind of got them to discover jobs, got them to look at information. How do we convert? How do we then push that button and get them to apply to a job, right? Now, again, 60% of visitors do not click on that apply button, right? More than 60% users do not click on that apply button, which means that they're just not looking to apply today. They're looking probably applying later, right? And only 19% complete the application process on the career side in the first visit, right? Which means that there is a huge percentage of population which is not just completing the application process right then and there, right? And eventually they might go to some other place, maybe Naukri, LinkedIn, Indeed, wherever, and apply for that particular job. And what it's doing is essentially elongating the process, which is the truth of the day. It's much more longer to get an application than it was even 2-3 years back, and it's more complex, right? So how do we kind of get ahead of this, right? And the way to get ahead of this is to track everything that's happening on your career site, follow everything that's happening on your career site, and make best use of the data, right? An efficient career site will track users and essentially kind of look at who's doing what and derive analytics, derive data, derive meaning from that to further aid strategies, right? And that's what programmatic does, and that's what an efficient career site will end up doing, right? And use this, for example, a simple flowchart of tracking and optimizing your media, your content, everything else, and even in your career site, right? So has a user applied to a job, if they're qualified, if they've applied and qualified, you can find more users who replicate that behavior to be able to get that more reach, right? And if they're not qualified, you can go back and look at job description, look at where your data is coming from, where your candidates are coming from, and uh, optimize those inputs and make better results, arrive at better results. If they're not applying to a job at that particular juncture, capture them, keep retargeting them, keep looking, keep communicating with them, try to engage with them with various means that will help you track and convert over a period of time. And again, the simple point here is you have opportunity to engage and convert a user when they are online and do it. Once they leave, it's difficult for them to come back. It's difficult for them to come back and apply to the same job at the same place, right? So make most of it. Now, these are what happens, or this is what is happening today rather in a larger ecosystem of digital candidate behavior and how experience is driving them, right? And obviously the reason why we're talking about it here is also because TMP has a solution which is across several clients across the globe, which is helping them to address these challenges, helping them to create this ecosystem which is reducing their media costs, which is reducing their time lags and kind of improving the cost per application and cost per hire, right? And the platform that's working across the organizations is Talent which is essentially a recruitment marketing technology platform. Right? Now, what does it do? Is it does different things for different people in your ecosystem and in your life cycle, right? For the candidates, it's an intelligent career site which helps them get the right content, which is personalized, which can the mobile apply process integrated to it and everything. So from a candidate perspective, everything is kind of what he or she is looking for today. From your employee standpoint, platform can power the employee referrals. For recruiters, it gives you real-time CRM. It gives the ability for your recruiters to communicate continuously to this candidate pool. And for TA leaders, it's largely about metrics. It's largely about media engagement, job distribution, etc. Right? And what is this essentially doing is it's creating that relevant job pool for the candidates which brings right jobs in front of right people, helps kind of convert them through various other elements like programmatic, etc. that are integrated to it. And of course, is GDPR ready, which means that it kind of complies with everything that's out there as a compliance rule, right? Now, what the suite of products has at the heart of it, a career site, which is a branded candidate experience center, which is responsive, of course, which is about job search, which is about discovery of jobs and capturing candidate information. It has employer referral part of the module, which helps integrate with social media of the employees and credit them back. A programmatic media channel, programmatic media platform, which essentially helps optimize the data that we have and drive more results. Social plugins and content, which helps essentially on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, etc., to be able to broadcast jobs and to be able to create more content, relevant content. Metrics, the most important element for a lot of our leaders at the client places, real-time analytics, insights, paths to conversion, tracking till higher media and efficiency, etc. That gives a whole lot of intelligence. For recruiters' perspective, building talent community, creating outreach programs, CRM, candidate relationship marketing, everything rolled into one, which helps them to be in touch with the candidates at every stage, and an email center, which is an extension of the candidate HQ and a job distributor, a technology which essentially pulls jobs from your ATS and puts it to and distributes it to various job sites across. So an overall talent attraction platform, a recruitment marketing platform, which will help you create that great candidate experience, convert those candidates. Right. Very quickly, how it evolved. It all started with SEO. It all started with kind of looking at how do we make jobs that are lying on a static page like HTML pages like Taleo to be searchable, right? And use the power of Google, etc. And that's where it started in 2009. And as we grew, as there was a lot of data, as there was a lot of understanding of behavior, kind of made that journey towards building greater candidate experience, building personalization, programmatic, etc. Right, and a full-fledged platform as it is in today's scenario. Some of our clients that we work with that have the Talent Room product suite, and then today there are more than 300 clients on Talent Room, which effectively makes it the largest career site network in the industry, which brings us as much as 1.6 million jobs or 16 lakh jobs posted every year, close to 17 lakhs jobs posted every year on the network, which gives us access to about 28 million users. And this probably is very, very close to what some of the job sites have as a user base. And then that's what we're really looking at from a job seeker behavior, understanding behaviors and understanding data point of view, right? And we're talking about probably 1.2 billion page views, about 9 million apply clicks, and 9 million apply clicks, which would have brought us about close to 6.5 million applications. And that's what we're processing on an annual basis, and which gives us enormous power of that data. And the number of hours people spend on site, every minute they spend gives us more intelligence, right? And so what does Talent to do really? As we said, it's about discovery of jobs, right? It's about job search. It's about enabling seamless job search, that no job is left out, and the candidates have an ability to further drill down in a faceted search way. So the experience is pretty much what you find on Amazon or a Flipkart, etc. Right? Responsive designs, for example, this is how it looks on a laptop or a desktop, to seamless responsive design moving to a mobile device on your right, and that's how it looks like on a mobile device. So pretty much seamless, that builds smart candidate experience wherever they are. Again, the key is you don't control where they come and where they search for you, and the idea is to be there wherever they are. Right? And advanced job descriptions kind of help create more content, give that understanding to the candidate a lot about what the job is, beyond responsibilities that are written in the ATS, looks at giving them a thorough understanding of what their life will look like, etc., which builds conversion, which builds self-select, and self-selection always improves quality of applications. Right. And this has an advanced SEO build, which means that it kind of optimizes each and every single page, every job posting that is there, and some of our clients have probably about 7,000, 8,000 jobs live on the site, which means they have about those many web pages actively searchable, right? And Google for Jobs, which is a reality today. Google aggregates, not only aggregates jobs, but then presents job seekers ability to apply from whichever source they want to, right? And then how do we kind of make it better? And I'm going back to the same screen. Going back to the same screen that I showed a little while back. Sorry, give me a second. Okay, so it's not working. So essentially, sorry for that. Sorry for the glitch. The essence of that Google for Search is that Google captures your job postings actively and kind of helps uh, arrange that information for the candidate to make a decision to apply or look at a job description very easily. And Talent job descriptions are Google for Jobs ready, which makes it very easier. And essentially looking at audience segmentation, who's visiting the site, what kind of jobs are they viewing, what are they doing outside Talent sites once we capture them. All this helps us to kind of uh, segment our audience quite better, create media outreach programs in a much better way, right? And and of course helps us in programmatic, right? Which is largely about identifying who's coming, what's the behavior, what are they doing, how do we go back to them if they've not completed the application, and if they've completed the application, how do we kind of create more such users who then can come and apply to this similar job postings, right? So which is what programmatic candidate targeting will do, right? And this is something which is extremely important from a job viewability and job visibility perspective on a career site, right? And if your career site has many jobs, not every job gets the same visibility because your jobs that are posted 2 days back are going back in the pages, and the behavior continues that people wouldn't look beyond first page or second page when they're applying to a job. And that's where a priority score or job classification score kind of helps getting that visibility to the jobs which are not getting attracting too many applications today, right? Which essentially means that it creates that pool of jobs which are lying low and brings them up and gets more traction to those jobs. Programmatic takes over from there to get more traction to those jobs, which means your recruiter productivity at the end of the day, I mean, your overall productivity improves significantly when jobs get equal mileage from your career side. And all that happens from a automated way that uses machine learning and artificial intelligence. Moving to recruiter productivity, uh, recruiters manage various programs. Recruiters manage diversity, for example. Recruiters manage events. Recruiters manage walk-ins, various other things. And using Talent recruiters can create pages on the fly. They can create landing pages for walk-ins, for events, for diversity, etc. Completely self-service, which is then again SEO enabled, which means that you start getting traction pretty soon, and which improves their overall experience from a candidate perspective as well, right? And then the entire CRM manifestation of the data that we collect, which helps recruiters to be in touch, to communicate with this set of pool of audience users who are viewing specific kind of jobs or specific jobs on a specific location with a specific keyword, etc. Which means that you're not just communicating with them, but you're communicating with them in a relevant way, right? And templates for events, various other pages, etc. Your pages that you could create for events, for walk-ins, content pages that you could help create data that you can generate data from, that you can generate leads from, right? So, and one of the last things that we talk about in a talent group platform is of course a metrics uh, suite of metrics that we provide, right? In today's scenario, we are in a position to provide detailed, in-depth analytics on what each of your job posting is going through on your career site. Uh, Media efficiency reports, uh, job efficiency reports, your hiring reports, your every single element that you put into use to attract talent and to get applications and to hire, we measure, and all that's available on one dashboard, which makes lives of everyone very easy in terms of the decision makers getting a lot of intelligence on what's happening at every stage and make better and greater decisions. So what is it doing overall, right? The talent room over a period of time has grown pretty strong in terms of delivering candidate experience and improving conversions with a lot of technology, a lot of artificial intelligence and machine learning involved. And what it's doing is it's increasing the organic applies and organic hires. Now, this is an aggregated data that we get from 300 odd clients that we have on Talent Room. Now, what does it mean? It essentially means that a lot more companies are finding applications and hires organically versus media, which essentially is reducing cost per apply, uh, reducing apps to hire ratio. Now, this is again a global data which could be different for different countries, but what we're seeing is because of relevant content, because of push with relevant content, push with improved candidate experience, conversion with programmatic, etc., the apps to the hire ratio is reducing, which means the quality is improving. Right? And 50% of 57% aggregated in the last couple of years were non-paid organic traffic, uh, and essentially resulted in on an average about 30 to 40% reduction in media spend, which means clients are spending less and less on paid media and getting more traction from organic results. So to summarize, Talent.ru optimizes the experience by delivering intelligent personalization, advanced SEO, which is at the base and the core, job search, which is powered by machine learning, which helps to classify jobs, which helps to bring jobs in front, relevant jobs in front with what we learn about candidates, CRM, right, and essentially powerful remarketing and measured candidate apply, right? Optimize the flow, use programmatic to a great effect, and convert. And that's what Talent.ru brings to the table.
You're not just looking for talent, you're looking for the right talent. And that's where Talent.ru comes in. This jam-packed software platform connects candidates to your company like no other. We start with one of the industry's most powerful, flexible, and predictive job searches. And then we build a personalized career site experience around it that transforms for every user. Example, when a candidate searches for a job in their desired location, you're going to see content, photos, and articles about their career area and their location. It can even help candidates match their skills to your jobs. Talent.ru improves your candidate quality by clearly setting expectations of the job with advanced job descriptions that spring to life and paint a vivid picture of each role through videos, ideal traits, benefits, and more. So how do we do it? Talent.ru is fueled by AI and the data from over 400 million user sessions. But it's not just about the big numbers. Talent.ru also works hard to make every single candidate visit better. You can remarket to people who came to your career site but didn't apply, or prospect for that perfect new talent. And when it's time to make a connection, our CRM tool leverages your talent community and ATS data. So you can search and match candidates to jobs, reach out one-on-one, or create a broader communications campaign. Got a quick turn career event to promote, or need to make a small change on your site? Our self-service option puts your content in your control. And behind the scenes, Talent.ru is just as impressive. Each page of your career site is search engine optimized for maximum visibility. You can track talent throughout the entire candidate journey, from initial interest to apply, and get actionable metrics every step of the way. So say hello to the talent marketing ATS integrating software platform that predicts, personalizes, and influences the entire candidate experience. Say hello to Talent.ru.
So that's it for me. And in the interest of time, we'll probably love to take questions. If you can email to either wecanhelp@tmp.com or email me at promote.chaganti@tmp.com, I'll be more than happy to respond to any questions or any queries that you might have. Thank you very much once again for taking time and attending the webinar. Hopefully this was good information for you and you would have enjoyed. Thank you very much and have a great evening.